This is not the kind of video you're supposed to watch. It's safer if you keep scrolling. It's easier if you pretend your data is protected, that your phone isn't a tracking device, and that your government respects your privacy. Because the moment you press play, you'll start to notice the patterns. Why does your webcam flicker when no app is open? Why did your AI assistant know what you were thinking before you said it out loud? Why do cybersecurity updates now feel more like silent compromises in protection? This video doesn't tell you what to believe. It shows you what you're not meant to question, that your right to digital freedom is quietly being traded for national security, that the same surveillance tech sold as protection is now predicting your next move, and that law enforcement and cybercriminals may already be using the same AI tools, just from opposite sides of firewall. If you're not ready to question the updates, the apps, or the laws that claim to keep you safe, don't watch this. Because once you know, you can't unknow. Paul cyber signing in File 043. This documentary video was created for educational purposes. No surveillance tools, hacks, or illegal methods are encouraged or demonstrated. We cite multiple public sources and involve legal cases from GDPR, CCPA, Wired, privacy NGOs, and academic research on surveillance and encryption law. In a world where every click, swipe, and video call leaves a trace, where governments and corporations can peer into nearly any moment of our lives, a silent conflict is unfolding. This is a story of two powerful forces: global data rights, the promise that you own your own digital life, and next-generation surveillance, technology that watches everyone, everywhere, in real time. From encrypted smartphones to predictive policing AI, from GDPR compliance to mass biometric systems, these threatened ideals are colliding, and at the intersection lies the future of our freedom. What happens when law enforcement asks for a backdoor into your encrypted chat? Is mass facial recognition ever justified, or always a breach of your privacy? How do global standards like GDPR clash with state security mandates? Stay with us, because by the end of this journey, the lines you thought were clear will blur in the most unsettling way. The rise of global data rights. For decades, data was treated like an invisible byproduct, something collected, stored, monetized, and quietly moved across borders. But as surveillance grew smarter and more personal, something changed. People started to push back. Out of Europe came the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, a sweeping law built on a powerful principle: your data, your control. California followed with CCPA. Brazil drafted the LGBT. India proposed its own personal data protection bill. What they all shared was a new idea, that individuals deserve digital rights just like physical ones. For the first time, people could demand to see what companies knew about them. They could ask for that data to be deleted. They could move it somewhere else. It wasn't just about documents. It was about power. Take the GDPR's right to erasure. If you once shared sensitive medical information with a company and changed your mind, you could ask them to erase it. No questions asked. Or consider a whistleblower in a repressive regime, using encrypted email and anonymity tools to expose corruption. Without digital rights, that story would never survive the network. These weren't just features. They were lifelines. Why data rights matter globally. Your health records, your location data, your biometric ID, your financial fingerprint, all of it lives online now, and the systems holding it are not infallible. Imagine this. A woman applies for a loan, but the AI model scanning her digital profile finds an error. It mislabels her as high risk due to data she didn't even know existed. She's denied. No human ever sees her application. No way to contest. No way to correct. This isn't science fiction. It's happening now. Digital rights are about restoring dignity to our most personal information. Because without transparency and control, algorithms decide your fate without ever showing their math. Corporate and legal pushback. Not everyone welcomed the age of transparency. Some corporations resisted the right to portability, fearing customers might take their data and walk away. Others pushed back against strong encryption laws, citing national security. The legal battles were global. Europe versus the U.S. over transatlantic data transfers. The Schrems 2 case shredded long-standing privacy agreements. Apple stood its ground against the FBI when asked to build a backdoor into a locked iPhone. The tension was clear. Users wanted security and privacy. Governments wanted access and control. Rights collided with regulation. Privacy met politics. Next-gen surveillance unveiled. As digital rights gained ground, another force advanced. Faster, quieter, and often unchecked. Surveillance tech evolved from grainy street cameras to AI-driven machines that could detect faces, track movement, and even predict behavior. In London, facial recognition cameras silently scanned passengers entering the underground. In Xinjiang, China, surveillance is integrated into every inch of daily life. Designed not just to observe, but to anticipate descent. It's not just CCTV anymore. Today's surveillance is smart, fast, and everywhere. From CCTV to smart surveillance. Modern systems use computer vision to detect suspicious gestures. Edge analytics process footage in real time. Biometric scanners read your iris at an airport faster than a passport agent ever could. What once required a team of analysts now happens in milliseconds, automated, algorithmic, and invisible to the person being watched. Predictive policing and behavioral analytics. Companies like Predpol and Palantir develop systems that claim they could predict crime before it happens. They use historical arrest data to map high-risk zones. But here's the problem. If past policing was biased, future predictions will be too. In Chicago, critics claim the city's algorithm disproportionately flagged minority neighborhoods for increased patrols. The backlash was swift and emotional. Communities already over-policed were now being digitally profiled. Worse, the systems rarely showed how they worked. No appeal, no transparency. Border surveillance and biometric entry systems. At airports, it feels seamless. Walk through a gate, smile at a camera, and board your flight. Behind the scenes, facial recognition software cross-checks you against vast biometric databases. Proponents say it speeds up travel and boosts security. But critics warn, what happens when that database is breached or misused, or when travelers never gave informed consent to begin with? Convenience is seductive, but the trade-off is often invisible until it's too late. Surveillance capitalism and corporate monitoring. It's not just governments watching. Today, employers track your location, monitor your keystrokes, and flag long pauses as signs of low productivity. Smart fridges in your home send data to third parties. Your fitness tracker knows when you sleep, when you wake up, and sometimes who you're with. Corporate surveillance and state surveillance might seem different, but when they intersect, it's your rights that vanish first. Cybersecurity law meets law enforcement. The right to privacy doesn't exist in a vacuum. It lives in tension with law enforcement, with national security, with a demand for safety in an unpredictable world. And at the center of that tension is encryption. Encryption and the right to secure communication. End-to-end encryption protects your messages from being intercepted. Whether it's WhatsApp or Signal, the idea is simple. Only sender and receiver can see the contents, not the platform. Not hackers, not governments. But authorities say the security is a shield for criminals. In 2015, the FBI demanded Apple unlock a terrorist's iPhone after the San Bernardino attack. Apple refused, citing the risk of setting a dangerous precedent. Governments call for exceptional access, a backdoor just for them. But security experts warn, there's no such thing as a backdoor only the good guys can use. Encryption isn't just a technical choice. It's a right, a digital equivalent of privacy in your home, in your mind, in your voice. When law enforcement seeks access, authorities have tools, warrants, subpoenas, gag orders to compel access. But what happens when those tools are abused? Consider the Pegasus scandal. Spyware from Israel's NSO group was used not just to track terrorists, but to monitor journalists, activists, and political opponents across multiple countries. Phones were turned into silent surveillance devices, microphones activated, cameras hijacked, private lives exposed. The line between national security and political control blurred, without the public ever knowing. Data retention and metadata laws. Many governments don't need the content of your messages. They just want the metadata, who you called, when, how often, where you were. But metadata is powerful. It can reveal relationships, habits, patterns. It can expose journalist sources or map activist networks. And telecom providers are often required to store it, sometimes for years. The contradiction is chilling. They say, we don't look at content. But sometimes metadata speaks louder than words. Ransomware, cybercrime, and the dilemma of war. While civil rights debates unfold, another war rages in the shadows, one of ransomware, digital hostages, and retaliatory hacks. Hospitals shut down, pipelines paralyzed, critical infrastructure held for ransom. Governments aren't just defending anymore. They're hacking back. The U.S. has disrupted foreign servers used in cyber attacks, sometimes linked to nuclear infrastructure. But collateral damage is real. Civilian systems caught in the crossfire, innocent networks disabled. This isn't just cybercrime, it's cyber warfare, and the rules of engagement are still being written. Oversight, accountability, and Five Eyes surveillance alliances. Behind the scenes, countries cooperate, sharing raw data, surveillance logs, biometric matches. The Five Eyes Alliance, US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, operates a transnational surveillance machine. But who's watching the watchers? In many cases, oversight is minimal. Transparency is optional. And citizens in one country can be surveilled by an ally system, dodging domestic legal limits entirely. This is the loophole of modern surveillance. Outsource the spying, import the data, avoid the blame. The conflict, right versus security. Security agencies argue that, in emergencies, rights become obstacles. During the Brexit era, the UK passed laws allowing warrantless access to data for national security. No notice, no appeal. To them, speed mattered more than consent. But history shows what happens when unchecked surveillance meets power. Dissent is monitored, protest is flagged. Political speech becomes subversion. Privacy isn't a luxury. It's the foundation of freedom. Where transparency is lacking, many oversight boards operate in secrecy. Classified sessions, no public transcripts, no citizen visibility. We only learn about these programs when someone leaks the truth. Remember Prism? The NSA's bulk surveillance program exposed by Edward Snowden. Or India's Aadhaar biometric system, launched to deliver services, but later criticized for exposing personal data and lacking opt-outs. When systems grow too big to question, democracy is no longer in control. Legislative attempts at balance. Policymakers have tried to find a middle ground. The EU pushed for the e-privacy regulation, a tighter set controls on electronic communication data. The U.S. proposed the Earn IT Act, sparking fears it would weaken encryption. India drafted a data protection authority, meant to safeguard rights, but caught in delays and amendments. Why do these laws stall? Because they threaten the same institutions they're meant to regulate. And too often, tech giants and intelligence agencies push back, quietly, effectively. Emerging solutions and tech safeguards. But the battle isn't hopeless. Innovations like homomorphic encryption allow data to be computed without ever being revealed. Federated learning trains AI without moving personal data. Zero-knowledge proofs verify facts without exposing sensitive inputs. Privacy by design is no longer a buzzword. It's a blueprint. Independent audits, data protection officers, transparency logs. Even virtual privacy courts are being explored, where digital rights can be defended in real time. What lies ahead? The line between safety and surveillance has never been thinner. Deepfakes threaten trust, but AI can also detect them. Smart cities promise convenience, but often at the cost of consent. The future will be built on code, but that code must answer to the people. Public vigilance and digital literacy. Governments won't volunteer transparency. Corporations won't enforce privacy unless pressured. That pressure must come from us. Ask questions. What data is being collected? Why? By whom? Use tools, VPNs, encrypted messaging, open source software, AI-powered privacy monitors. Because knowing how you're tracked is the first step to stopping it. Global standards in flux. The world is waking up. The United Nations is exploring a global digital rights charter. UNESCO is calling for ethical AI and privacy frameworks. NGOs like Privacy International and the Electronic Frontier Foundation fight in courts, in code, and in Congress. Tech giants are feeling the heat, forced to rethink what privacy by design really means. But it's still a fight, and the balance is fragile. At the end of the day, tools don't choose how they're used. We do. Security and rights are not enemies. They're responsibilities. No surveillance, no matter how advanced, should ever outweigh consent, oversight, or human dignity. Because if we give up our freedoms in the name of protection, we may lose both. Final thoughts. You've just seen the hidden story. Global data rights offering control and dignity. Next-gen surveillance redefining what can be seen and what can be done. Laws trying to strike a balance, often pulled apart by politics, profits, and power. These forces collide not in theory, but in reality, in our cities, in our networks, in our phones. Every day, what protects us can also be used to oppress us. But the story isn't over. It's being written by people like you. If you've made it this far, here's what you can do. Support laws that prioritize transparency and accountability. Demand data portability and encryption protections. Engage in public consultations. Sign petitions. Back civil rights groups. Learn your rights. Teach others. Speak up, especially when it's inconvenient. Because in the digital age, freedom isn't something you're given. It's something you fight for. Not just for yourself, but for future generations. If this documentary opened your eyes, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell to join our mission of digital truth and tech justice. Drop a comment below. Where would you draw the line between privacy and national security in your country? And share this video so others can understand the silent choices being made every time they log in, every time they click. Thanks for watching. Paul Cyber, signing out. See you in the next files.